Hi everyone, welcome to the Mentor Jessica channel. My name's Jessica and I am your guide on this exciting journey. So on this channel, I dive into the world of living a meat-based lifestyle, exploring recipes as well as nutritional tips, and sharing the incredible benefits I've personally experienced. But that's not all. I'm also sharing my story with hypothyroidism and shedding light on this journey to wellness. So if you want to peek into my health adventures, hit that subscribe button and join our community. Hello and welcome to the Mentor Jessica channel. I'm Mentor Jessica. Today we are going to be going over my week. This week I didn't do any supplements, and we're going to talk about my goals, what I did, how am I doing in February with my food tracking, and what food I introduced this week. My plan was not to introduce anything, but I found a new recipe that I really wanted to try out. So we'll talk about that. And of course, my weekly results. So first, my supplements. This week I decided not to take any. Why? Because I wanted to know if I really noticed, if I felt any different. And I did. So I do muscle tests to see if I need certain supplements or not. But I'm like, am I going to feel a difference? As any goes one experiment, I'm experimenting on myself. There are some supplements I really haven't needed as often. And it got to the point where I'm like, okay, I was checking 3 times a day. Then I went to checking twice a day if I needed any supplements or what supplements I needed. And the amount of supplements I've needed have been decreasing for the most part. So I wanted to try it for a week and do no supplements and see if I noticed a difference. Well, I did. I noticed a difference. I didn't have the energy or motivation, and I went back looking through. I should have done this beforehand, maybe just limited the number of supplements. I went back and realized almost every day I need to take the iodine. Well, with hypothyroidism, that makes sense. So I'm going to be adding the iodine in. Every day at some point, I also needed to take a thyroid supplement as well as an adrenal supplement. So those are 2 supplements I didn't realize I was taking every single day. It wasn't always the morning. Sometimes it was the evening, and sometimes I needed one in the morning and the other in the evening when I was doing my muscle testing. So I'm trying to limit the number of supplements that I'm relying on. And the only way I'm going to know if it really affects me is if I go off and see what happens. So I have not had the energy or the ability to focus as much as I have in the past. So this week I did hit my move goal, just barely, but I really didn't have the energy to get up and move around. So I will be adding those 3 supplements in this next week. And I'm just planning on doing it once a day and see how that does. Because I really don't feel like I should be relying on supplements. I prefer to get my supplements through food. But I also realize with hypothyroidism, I do need that extra support. And I'm also going to be getting my test here in the next week or 2 and testing my levels again. So I do kind of want to be off of all the supplements to do another baseline test, because before I did the test last time, I was not using the thyroid supplement or the adrenal supplement. And I did notice those 2 supplements did help me, and I did have more energy when I was taking those supplements. So I'm going to incorporate those 2 as well as my iodine for this next week, and only those 3 supplements, and see how that goes. So that's the update on the supplements. My goals. As I said, I didn't get as much movement in. I did meet my movement goal as far as closing my move ring. That is the only goal I met. I didn't use my sauna. I wasn't doing the exercises. I was having a hard time getting out of bed some mornings, or I actually slept like an extra hour. So that took some of the time that I would normally get up, wake up, use a sauna, work out, stretch. That was all gone. I slept through that. And I obviously needed more sleep. But then, like I said, I was having a hard time. And there were a few days that the only reason I met my move goal is because I realized I hadn't hit it yet and paced it back and forth on purpose in order to get that movement in. Now, the other thing I've been doing is tracking all my food, how I feel, digestion, and that's my goal for February. So far, I've been doing that and been able to stay on top of it as what I'm drinking. I'm not going through and weighing everything, but just an idea of what I'm eating at what times and how I'm feeling. Because I did have, I can't remember, I can go back and go through. There was one day I had something, and when I went back and looked, I think it had to do with too much fat, and all of a sudden I was running to the bathroom, and I think it had to do with having too much fat in my diet for that day. But I wouldn't have noticed that if I wasn't recording it. I would have been, well, why is this happening? Why am I having this struggle? It's the importance of the food journal. Another thing, when I had a stressful situation happen, I'm wanting to eat, and if I'm journaling it, I'm sitting there asking myself, am I really hungry? If I have to write this down, am I really hungry? And so those situations where I'm stressed, but I'm like, I've committed to writing down everything, it makes me stop and think. So the journals to record everything is wonderful, as long as you remember to do it and you stay on task. I have had times where I needed to make a note, so I'm bringing a note up in my phone and putting a note on my phone and then having to remember to put it in my journal, because I don't carry it around with me everywhere when I'm out and about, or I'm running to a store or visit family or drop my kids off at work. I don't have it with me all the time, but I do have my phone. So I'm making the notes on my phone and then recording them in my journal at the end of the day. So I'm just making sure that's updated each day. My food introduction. Now, I wasn't planning on introducing anything this week, but this recipe came along, and it's one that I was planning on trying for a while. And I was looking at the ingredients, and I'm like, well, there's really not too many ingredients that I haven't already introduced. I'm gonna try it. So what I introduced this week, I made egg white bread and made that, and oh, it was awesome. I haven't had bread or anything like bread in a long time. And what I like about the egg white bread is not heavy. I've had a lot of different carnivore breads that were heavy or made with cheese. There's no cheese. So it's not heavy. It's light and fluffy, and it has little bubbles, air. Oh, it was awesome. Now, coming right out of the oven, it had the texture of a sponge. But when you put it in the fridge, let it cool down, and then use it to make a sandwich, it was the texture of bread. I can't tell you what it really tasted like plain, because I didn't. I was just in heaven being able to make sandwiches, and sandwiches I could eat. I haven't had bread in so long that yes, I did go overboard. I made 3 loaves of that bread, and I had probably half of one loaf was eaten by my daughters, and then the other 2.5 loaves were eaten by me as I was putting different meats on the bread with butter, and it was amazing. So that's one thing I remember When we went keto, we were always trying to find bread substitutes. Now, I'm going to warn you, if you're used to eating bread, I can almost guarantee this is not going to taste like bread to you. It might be similar. You're probably better off getting rid of it completely and living without it. Your taste buds will change, and then introduce something like this as a special treat. As I did, make 2 loaves, and then I already knew I was overdoing it, and so I waited 2 days to make the 3rd loaf because I'm like, I'm getting too addicted to, it's more of a habit. And if I have that as a substitute, what's going to happen? I feel I'm going to want to have the real thing or try the real thing. And I don't want that to happen. So I don't want to go down the road of bad habits. So this is just a treat, and not something I want to make all the time, but it was very quick. I will say that was very quick, very easy, and something I will probably be making more often now, because the girls were like, yeah, this is fine. Yeah, we can eat this. So they were excited to have sandwiches, and I'm excited that it's very simple and very quick. I had everything pre-mixed ahead of time, so it was mixing it all up, using the mixer, popping it in the oven, and within 45 minutes we had bread. So that was great. That was a great introduction for us, for our family, for this week. My results. Okay, so since last week, I have lost 1.4 inches and 1.8 pounds. I'm actually shocked, especially with not as much movement and taking supplements out, that I was forcing things along, right? So that was great. 1.4 inches and 1.8 pounds for this last week. Now, what does that mean for my results so far since I started Carnivore in July? I have lost 11.3 inches and 12.6 pounds so far on this journey. Now, that's not the lowest I've been since I've started, but I'm getting a lot closer to those numbers. So that's why the lowest before I started was before I ended up fracturing my foot and my ankle. So, all right, so those are my results so far of where I'm at and what I've been doing. If you are enjoying these videos, go ahead, give me a like, subscribe. If you found something that was interesting that you think someone else should hear, go ahead, share that with them, and we will see you next week.